Hello, welcome back to another pack discussion. This time we have the new Netrunner data pack, Martial Law, just came out about less than a week ago as of this recording. And we have some really interesting cards to cover. So first of all, I have with me tonight, helping to discuss this pack, Eric Phette23. How are you doing tonight, Eric?
I'm doing well. Welcome to cyberspace.
We are in cyberspace now, and we are off with MK Ultra. This is an Anarch program to install cost 1 memory. This is the Conspiracy Breaker, the killer, so you can install it from your heap. And interestingly enough, you do that by paying its install costs. So we're going to need an FAQ update on that. There is a typo on the card. That means that card is worth extra money in about 20 years when they reprint and fix this. So keep your original MK Ultras sleeved. And you can pay 3 credits to boost a strength twice and break up to 2 Sentry subroutines if able, starting at 1 strength. So what do you think about this one, Eric?
Well, the immediate comparison is Black Orchestra, and I think it's pretty comparable in quality, but probably just a little bit better. So it has 1 less strength and 1 less install cost, but most sentries are lower strength anyways. So I think it's pretty good. Mimic is really good too, but a lot of these Anarch decks that just love trashing all their programs, they run Inject, they run Frantic Coding, are going to love this card. It's good in Max. It's just another solid icebreaker, so I'm for sure going to be playing this.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this, we've seen Paperclip even being at all competitive to Corroder. That was just not. There's everyone played Corroder. It's just what you did.
Yeah.
And so we have Paperclip now, which is really well balanced in regard to Corroder. And I think there's an argument that this isn't the same case as Mimic, but it is another really good option. I mean, that 1 install cost is totally relevant. The 1 less install cost. And there's just so much synergy in Anarch now with Street Peddler and the other cards you mentioned.
Sentries do the nastiest things, So, the install from heap ability is maybe most relevant on this more than the other 2. What do you say?
Yeah, definitely. So solid card. I can totally see myself slotting this into a deck at some point. Also, just being able to boost strength with credits, that's something Mimic can't do. So that's something I've really enjoyed with Black Orchestra. I will use it to break a Fairchild 3 if needed, if that situation comes up, and that's something that Yogg can't do. So it's powerful.
It's pretty nice to have that safety net. So for instance, Grim was kind of a scary card way back in the day in Netrunner, and this can actually boost up to break it. You don't see it much these days, and it's really expensive to do that, but it's there.
I guess this would break Assassin somewhat efficiently. Assassin is 5 strength?
Oh yeah, it's actually really good against Assassin. That's a good point.
So you have to pay 6.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, you have to pay 6, but the alternative is being traced and paying 8 or whatever on the trace. So that's an option. Why don't we move on to the next one? This is the criminal card in the pack. You want to read this one?
Yeah, sure. So this is On the Lam. It's a criminal event. It's a condition subtype, which is interesting. 3 credits to play, 2 influence, and the text reads, install On the Lam on a resource as a hosted condition counter with the text trash icon, avoid up to 3 tags, or prevent up to 3 damage. So I'm not sure that we've ever seen a card quite like this, where it's an event that you host on one of your installed cards. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. For the runner, we have hosted condition counters on the corp side through Byron Efficiency Committee and Sub Boost and all those kind. But this might be the first one for the runner. And I think this is also notable in that there's a lot of speculation that this is sort of Andromeda's goodbye card. We had Wizard on Boom, and we have Never Ever Overstay Your Welcome as Andromeda. We see her wig and her dress in the garbage can there. So I think that's pretty cool. A little bit of...
Oh yeah, that is really neat. I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah, so that's presumably Andromeda, never was Andromeda, and can even wrap around. Maybe we'll have a new runner ID that is Andromeda, but is her new identity. I don't know why I'm focusing on that so much. So this card is super relevant right now in the context of controlling the message, right?
This is just a really good meta card right now because of hard-hitting news and controlling the message as well. It is tag avoidance, which is worth pointing out. So for instance, you can't run through a data raven 3 times and then trash something to avoid all 3 tags. but it is really good against hard-hitting news. It's also really good against boom, because you can easily survive a single boom with this. You can stack multiple ones. So yeah, this is a super relevant counter to a lot of what's going on in the meta.
I was talking to another player about this one. Like, it's such a strange condition. There's a lot of confusion at first if the resource is what you trash or if this is what you trash. And you do trash on the lamb to activate the ability, so you can install on Katie Jones or whatever. And what that does, like, why isn't this just a resource? It does some interesting things where now there's order dependence where there usually wouldn't be. If this is just a resource, you would just put it down, but now you need to get a resource first. So if you're playing on the lamb in your Siphon deck, for example, you do have to play some amount of resources in order to leverage on the lamb, and that number is probably greater than like 3 or 4.
So are you saying you don't actually trash the resource that it's hosted on?
Correct.
You use it?
You trash.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I misread that then.
No, a lot of people were confused by this. It's sort of like a weird card, but yeah, you just trash on the lamb to activate its ability.
Okay, well that's even better than I thought it was, and I already thought it was playable. I could pictured like slapping it on Same Old Thing or security testing, something cheap with a 0 cost that I'm probably going to get rid of anyways. Those are actually probably bad targets because then they just get best defensed and destroyed, but yeah, this is a good card.
So moving on, we have one of, it looks like, 3 Shaper cards in this pack. Considering there's so few runner cards, Shaper's really getting everything here. We have Cold Read. This is a run event. It's also a stealth card. Not too surprising. You make a run and place 4 credits on this card, which you may use only during this run. When the run ends, trash 1 program, which cannot be prevented, used during the run. So something I want to point out immediately about this is I think they finally figured out how to make Stim Hack less confusing. You just put the credits on the card.
This is less confusing?
Well, okay, so, Stim Hack, it's like your credits are in your credit pool, but not really, and they're kind of separate.
Sure.
And it's just always been kind of confusing when you get into the game first time, how does Stim Hack work, And I think this just clarifies that the credits are implicitly, like, on this card, and they go away if you don't use them all, because this card is trashed because it's an event. And I think that's a lot smoother in terms of design and templating. So what do you think about this actual card, though, Eric?
Well, I actually think this is an easy card to underestimate. I think it solves kind of a couple problems that you might have. So for one, stealth decks sometimes just need burst access to stealth credits, and it is a subtype stealth, so you can get your stealth boost with it. The Trasha program is a little bit less painful in Shaper because you have Clone Chip in faction, and pretty much every Shaper deck wants Clone Chip anyways. So it's good for getting into tough servers late, or getting into an early server where you just don't quite have enough stealth credits. The other thing you can do is Shapers are really good at using credits mid-run, right? You have SMC, you have Clone Chip, like I've mentioned. So if you play this, and then you trash SMC and it's no longer on the board, you don't need to trash another program. You didn't use another program, right? So you can play this to run archives, spend the 4 credits as setup credits to install a program, get some other kind of successful run synergy in there, and just use it as a pure economy card where you're essentially taking the 4 credits from it and spending them in some way and using them up. For instance, you pay for SMC and you install Refractor. Or you install Houdini. So I actually think this is a very playable card. It's going to synergize with Netmerker as well. So as soon as you spend a credit on this, you get to put a credit on Netmerker. So if you have that already, it's really more like you have 5 credits for this. It's solid.
Yeah, and being able to use it on both ends, being able to use it as that sort of early or late game, oh my god, I need to get into that server now, and I'm willing to trash a program to do that, or using it as basically sure gamble 4, 5, and 6 with other benefits perhaps, shows a lot of utility. It does also remind me of Stim Hack, going back to that, sure. And that makes me think of Personal Workshop. You can use these credits on your Personal Workshop and get paid from Temujin, and when you spend these to pay for your Personal Workshop, it triggers Netmerker. There's just a lot of value stacking up all of a sudden. Sure. That being said, I'm thinking of this in the context of the kind of smoke deck I've been playing, and I don't know if it would earn a slot. I've kind of cut a lot of stealth cards from that deck. I've cut Ghost Runners. I think this would definitely take place of Ghost Runner if I was still playing that. But it might be for a different style of stealth deck than I'm currently playing. Let's move on. You want to read Equivocation?
Yes, so Equivocation is a unique Shaper program, 2 credits to install, 1 MU, 3 influence, and the text reads, whenever you make a successful run on R&D, you may reveal the top card of R&D. If you do, you may force the corp to draw that card. So that's a weird effect, but Brian, do you want to explain to people why this card is, like, potentially dangerous?
Oh god, I know why you're asking me that right now, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what people are doing with this, and it's totally disgusting, and it makes me very happy it's at least unique, is they will set up the big diaper dig with keyhole and, 14 clicks, and as they're keyholing you, you'll first have to draw the top card, because they're both successful run effects, and so Equivocation will trigger first. They will see that it's not an agenda, they'll force you to draw it, and they'll see the 3 cards underneath that. So it basically superpowers keyhole digs, and it's really mean. I almost got decked out on Saturday from a keyhole turn. Like he almost decked me. That's because of Equivocation.
So Diaper, when it gets set up, has 3 hyperdrivers, like a couple all-nighters, and then the regular 4 clicks, right?
Yeah.
So you can get up to a maximum of 7 plus 9, 16 clicks, and you're trashing 1 from Keyhole, and you're forcing to draw 1 with Equivocation, so that's 32 cards. They can eat through most of your R&D if the game is like, about halfway through.
Wait, are you counting the cards in the Keyhole that you don't trash? Just in terms of what they're seeing or whatever?
If they make you draw every time, you're drawing 1 each time, and then they're trashing 1 of the 3. So they're getting rid of 2 cards per run, and they're doing it 16 times.
Yeah.
That's the calculation that I'm doing.
Sure.
In reality, if they see... Usually what happens with the Diaper deck, right, is they want to mill your agendas and win by scoring. So if they see a agenda, they don't force you to draw it, right?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
They want that to be part of the Keyhole.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's pretty powerful in that situation. In other situations, it's like this weird kind of enhanced R&D. Like, it does help you if you really want to dig deep and you have RDIs out or some other type of card out, but making the corp draw cards is really bad. So it's strange in other situations. I'm not sure I would use it outside of a Diaper deck.
So yeah, used in that regard, where you're not just playing to win in one turn, it is very reminiscent of something like Fisk, which is a card. It really represents an archetype we don't have in Netrunner yet, which is log jamming of the Corpse HQ. It's really just not. You see little traces of it with what's the card I'm thinking of that lets you access their gang sign. You see it hints of it with Fisk and gang sign, and really the if we're going to put one thing on why this archetype doesn't exist, it's Jackson Howard. And something that will be happening in the middle of next year, roughly, is Jackson Howard will be going away. And the Corp will have other options, but we haven't seen all of those, but it looks like they won't have something as effective as Jackson Howard. And so this idea that it's bad to have the Corp draw cards is... It is true, but it's true, I think, mostly in the context of Jackson Howard, in terms of it being universally true. As soon as Jackson goes away, flooding will be a real thing again. And Equivocation might fit into that.
Yep. Equivocation Fisk 2017.
Yeah, you know what?
Worlds.
I will try it. I try to make Fisk work about once a year. I tried in 2016. It didn't quite come together, even though Rumor Mill was pretty cool. So, we'll try post-rotation on Fisk and see if we could get that going again. Let's move on to Misdirection. So this is another Shaper program. 0 install cost, 1 memory, and some pretty cool art. Not quite sure what's going on there, but Smoke has doubled herself, apparently. And you can spend 2 clicks and X credits to remove X tags, so pretty straightforward. This is in response to a lot of the controlling the message cards we've seen printed this cycle, and late last cycle even, perhaps. And, we're getting it towards the end of the cycle. It would have been nice to have this at Worlds, I suspect. But what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's cool to see both On the Lam and Misdirection come out when they're so well positioned in a really, really good NBN meta. Like, NBN's just really strong right now. This is obviously super efficient, and Shaper is great at tutoring programs, so the fact that it's a program is actually probably an upside, even though it costs memory. They can SMC for this and then remove all of the hard-hitting news tags. So yeah, this looks like a real solid tech card. It's nice to be able to just throw one in there and not have to rely on drawing it. You can rely on tutoring for it. And it does die to best defense though. So if you do have it installed, it might get trashed and then you get hard-hitting news. So you're going to want some kind of way of like recurring it or installing it when you need it, probably.
Yeah, and it doesn't really handle the bigger problem I see with CTM, which is breaking news. It doesn't do anything in regards to that. So we're still kind of on Natch in that regard. A lot of people are trying to enhance their Clot play and then play Misdirection. So you kind of have Clot covering breaking news and you have Misdirection covering hard hitting. That's not something I've tried yet. So I need to try that out. But I hope this is a pretty strong card. This does less against mid-seasons. You could clear the tags later, I suppose, but you do have to get back up to that point. Not that mid-seasons is huge right now, but is a card that I've played quite a bit of, and so is always in the back of my mind.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think enough has been said about Misdirection at this point. We'll just see how it plays out, and especially over the next month or two with Store Championships, I'm really looking forward to see what Smoke decks turn into. Do you want to handle Reaver here?
Sure. Reaver is a Apex program, so this is the one Apex card that we're going to see this cycle, and I think completes the 3 mini faction cards we've seen so far.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yep. So it's a program, 2 costs to install, 1 MU. It's 4 influence, so pretty hard to import. And it reads: the first time you trash an installed card each turn, draw 1 card. So that's pretty interesting because it just says an installed card. It doesn't say an installed runner card. If you trash a corp card, you do get to draw, which is pretty awesome. If you can trash things on somehow the corp's turn and your turn, you're going to draw twice. It's a powerful effect. I'm not sure if it fits into Apex very well because of the MU restriction is tough with Endless Hunger. Do you have thoughts on this card, Brian?
One thought I have is if I was a new Netrunner player and I opened this data pack without a lot of other packs, I would wonder what the hell is this card about? Like if I didn't know what Apex was, you're used to the 4 runner factions and you see this icon, and you see this creepy guy. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
You're like, is this supposed to be a reprint of Eater?
Yeah. I hadn't fully considered that, that if you just trash one of their installed cards, you get to draw a card. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, that's nice.
The 4 influence means I probably won't bring this into Wizard, but he does have the memory for it. I don't play enough Apex to really analyze this card properly. The memory issue certainly seems like the big thing. But honestly, how good is Endless Hunger at this point? Is it worth playing even in Apex?
Yeah, it breaks like nothing. Maybe that's the thing, is you just shouldn't be playing Endless Hunger. You should be playing like Overmind or something, like some other just easy MU.
Right.
But let me build a deck for you right now, alright? I'm gonna name some cards. The Professor.
Oh, shoot.
Reaver. Cash. A second copy of Cash. Aesop's Pawn Shop. Alright? That's a deck.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good deck.
That's not bad. You're almost up to that, 22 influence that we want to see on Professor, but Reaver helps you get there.
Yeah, you can get there. You put in Keyhole, that's just going to synergize with it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Keyhole, because
cards.
Keyhole does trigger hostile infrastructure, so it's the same kind of situation.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
This is sick, Professor deck.
You know how broke this would be with Faust if this wasn't limited to first time?
Right. Wait, it's installed card?
Yeah. Oh, it is installed card. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't.
Okay, I was like, no, that's too good. You're just like filtering your hand. You're trashing stuff to draw. It's
pretty amazing. Apex certainly needs card draw, so I think they targeted the right effect for Apex. You need to feed that endless hunger, and you need to feed Apex. But what do you do for Apex memory? Maybe that's really the problem here. Maybe Apex needs a little bit more memory somehow.
Yeah. And you really don't want like a big rig with Apex. I have played Apex a little bit, and I mean, maybe there's something else to be done, but I mostly just want to Apocalypse over and over and over again as much as possible.
Sure.
So I don't want to install a lot of cards. So like Endless Hunger plus Faust plus Heartbeat was about all the stuff I ever wanted to install. So I can't really see myself wanting to add this.
Fair enough. Let's move on to Interdiction. Is it your turn to talk about a card?
I just did Reaver.
Okay. Oh god, Interdiction. It's another one of these cards that I have some recent experience with. So, one play cost runner event. It is a current. It has the current text. The corp cannot res non-ice cards during the runner's turn. And it says, "This is my USMC XOB32. There are many like it, but this one is mine." That is a reference to that Vietnam movie whose name is escaping me at this point.
Yes, that one.
Oh, we read the flavor insert of this pack while driving down to the store championship on Saturday. Noah was reading it.
Uh-huh.
And it's all about this this dude that's about to go fight the protesters or something, and he totally has this suit on. So that's
looks like a mech.
Yeah, it's a mech suit, but there's a guy in there. You could see his hand on the gun, or it's a
Are we
person.
sure it's not Apex that's in there?
No, we aren't. We don't know the true nature of Apex, so we're calling it here first. Introduction artwork, that is Apex, everyone.
Apex inside his bodysuit.
And so, where this card is really going to get you is... there were there were, 3 diaper players on Saturday, I guess, but I ended up playing 2 of them. And John caught me by surprise. Like, this is a new card, was not in my mind, and I had Chrysium Grid set up on R&D. I had even assembly line set up with a sick play where I was going to drop ice on R&D and get paid for it and everything. And after the diaper click gaining, he plays Interdiction, and I pick it up and read it, and I'm just like, oh, right. So, yeah, that's something you have to be aware of against diaper players. You might want to pre-res some of those important assets and upgrades before they fire off their combo, because they might be packing this card. Other than that, do you think this card fits into sort of a more standard runner deck?
I actually am really positive about this card because we need kind of neutral, influence-free currents that do just a little bit of something as a current counter. So Criminals and Shapers have been playing mostly just Employee Strike. This gives them a current that they can play without paying influence. It has a kind of like pseudo rumor mill effect where it's really good against like defensive upgrades and things like that. And especially because it does force a new play style, and people aren't always going to play correctly around it. They're going to forget, or they're going to not know it's in your deck. It's actually like a much stronger card than I thought at first. I looked at it at first and I was like, well, this is trivial to play around, but I think it's the sort of thing where you kind of play it on a turn and then do something. So Diaper is obviously the tremendous extreme of that, where they do like 16 somethings, but it's always going to be a nice kind of gotcha, and it just fulfills a really, really useful function in the card pool in general. So I'm really happy to see this.
It's in an interesting spot where it's not like obviously super powerful in the way that Rumor Mill was or Employee Strike is, but it's strong enough, and there's decks that are going to want it. It's going to be really hard as a corp to determine if they're playing it, and you never really want to pre-res Chrysium Grid. You don't want to give that away, and you don't want to spend 3 credits until you know you have to.
Right.
And this does break that, so yeah, it's interesting in that regard. Let's finish up here with Baba Yaga. Do you want to read that one?
Okay. Baba Yaga is a neutral program that costs 2 influence, 5 to install, 1 memory. It's a program, Icebreaker, AI, with some of the weirdest text we've seen to date, I think. You may host any number of non-AI Icebreaker programs on Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga gains the paid abilities of all hosted Icebreaker programs. I gotta admit, when I first read that, I just did not understand what it did.
It's this is Frankenstein. This is, like
this is definitely Frankenstein.
Cobble together your super weapon. So yeah, this card is super fascinating. I get the impression that this is, maybe not going to be a top tier thing, but that this will be something that's on our mind for a long time. Like, that Baba Yaga will totally win some regional or whatever. It'll happen. Like, someone will come up with just a right mix of Baba Yaga stuff, and we'll come together in enough games to fire off and do something. But where are you seeing what programs do you want to host on here to really exploit it?
Yeah, so the ones I've been hearing about, like, you want to get ones that break or boost really efficiently. So Fairy and Yogg both say 0 credits, break a subroutine, right? 0 credits, break a sentry, 0 credits, break a code gate. There are cards that boost really efficiently, like Sharpshooter, I think, is a credit for +2 strength. I've heard people talking about Breach, which is really interesting.
Oh, it's like 2 for 4?
It's 2 credits for 4. Yeah, so your Baba Yaga, like Frankenstein Breaker, can pump itself up to 4 really quickly, and that deals with a lot of nasty ice. So basically, you stack all these programs on them that have inherent downsides, but then Baba Yaga doesn't have the downside and gains the really great paid abilities on those. So like Yogg is fixed strength, that can't break certain things. Fairy trashes itself. Breach can only be used on the central servers. Baba Yaga ignores all of that and has just this upside at the cost of being like pretty expensive. And now you have this massive order dependency too, because you need to draw and install Baba Yaga first before you play all those cards.
Yeah, so some things that are coming to mind, because there's clearly a lot of really good upside. So where is this card going to have deficiencies? And the order dependence is definitely a thing. I mean, we think about Dinosaurus is similar to this in some ways.
Exactly.
And that card has been really difficult to play with. So these, if you're building Baba Yaga, you're going to need some things to fix that. You're going to need some ways to search for Baba Yaga. You're going to need some maybe scavenge or the like. So this. Oh, and another thing worth noting is that it is 2 influence to play Baba Yaga. So it's really going to cut into your ability to bring in a bunch of programs from outside your faction to really leverage Baba Yaga. Also, another thing worth noting is, if you hit Swordsman, you can just use your Sentry Breaker that is hosted on Baba Yaga to break it. So you're not screwed there. The one thing that totally screws Baba Yaga, and that requires that you have Councilman and Councilman Recursion in your deck, is Will-O-the-Wisp. Because what's going to happen is Baba Yaga's going to go to the bottom of your stack, and all the other programs are going to fall off of it, and you are going to lose that game.
That would be bad.
So it is kind of nice. Like, whenever I see a new AI printed, I just played this game long enough where I always just, am a little bit hesitant. I'm a little bit worried because AIs have done some things to this game, and it's nice that we have Willow hanging in the background ready to kind of deal with Baba Yaga if things get out of control. So... Yeah. That is the data pack. That is the runner side of the pack. So we are going to go into the corp side of the pack in the second video. Do you have any last comments on this half of the pack?
Pretty solid all around. Some interesting utility cards. I think pretty much every faction got something that's going to see at least a little bit of play, but there's nothing that's like just utterly meta shattering in the way that Rumor Mill and Temujin Contract were.
Yeah, and that's something we can use in this cycle. The cycle has been very dramatic, so it is nice to have a little bit of a break, a little breathing room, and, like you said, some good utilities. So thank you, Eric, for helping out with the discussion, and we will see everyone in the second half of the video here. Thanks for watching.